Hey guys, it's David again here at Black Projects 51. I got a couple of things I'm gonna kit reviews. Um, I don't know how much of a review it'll be, as much as just sharing it with you and what they look like. One's a Stargate garage kit, resin, 3D printed. Um, had a few faux pas in the 3D printing, but they're very minor and I can easily um, fix it. So, yeah, so I got, like I said, the Stargate itself from Stargate SG1. Um, Also, I've got what's called the AMT AMTRONIC. This was a special edition thing that they released uh, back in 2000. And the vehicle's called the Millennium. How fitting, because it was done in 2000. And it's a futuristic concept car. Looks more like a spaceship, and I'll get more into that once once I review the kit with you. But yeah, so I'm going to do that. The downside here is, let me see, I don't have to have this right up on me. So I'm scooting it back, free up some real estate here to get down to the important business. Um, yeah, so why don't we get started? Like I said, early on in this YouTube, it's going to be grassroots, I'm telling you. So, the spiffy box, yes. Look at that logo, Stargate, in my own hand. So, when I got this, okay, it wasn't bagged up like it is now. It was thrown in a box, all the parts just scattered everywhere. Not very professional. I got it from a fella off of eBay. I also bought, I'm pretty sure it's the same dude I got my 124 scale uh, uh, Battlestar Galactica Viper. Uh, I believe it's the original series. I'm pretty sure it is. I didn't pay that much attention. It might be from the reimagined series, but yeah, I don't know. I should probably do a kit review on that. Well, I said I would do 3 videos. This would be number 2 for today. Maybe the next video I'll go ahead and pull that monstrosity, because you talk about a lot of parts. Because not only does it have the Viper, it has the launch rails uh, and a bunch of the surrounding details. So it gives you everything you need to make a diorama, and that'll be what I'm doing. Also, an update on the Timothy Alberino flying saucer, Area 51 flying saucer. I'm still waiting for this product I told you about to fully cure. It's not curing as well as I would have liked it to, but provided it doesn't do anything weird at the end of curing and it looks acceptable, I'm going to let it go, because I've got months and months. I've got a year in that kit. Well, it's not a kit. That kit bash, scratch build, junk build. It's all three. It's a kit, the saucer, heavily modified with lighting, and it's a junk bash because the walls are made out of basically junk that I put together into a coherent theme. And there's some scratch building in there as well. So a lot of that is minutia, though, not any big items. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So I guess we'll start off first with the really extravagant stand they gave me for this Stargate SG1. Yeah, you see the logo? That's what you get for a stand. I w- I won't be using this, but it's cool. I I'm certain I'm a huge Stargate SG1 Atlantis, not so much Stargate universe. It had potential, but it wasn't realized because they just cut it off after 2 seasons. But SG1 is my favorite. Actually, I think Stargate Atlantis is my favorite. And then a very, very close second, Stargate SG1. I like the movie with Kurt Russell. Um, and I just think they really pulled off a good storyline. You know, when I watch sci fi, the things that I like is a good story, done well without a bunch of profanity and nonsense, just good storytelling and good special effects to represent the storytelling. I have done some work in the motion picture industry building props. Nothing huge like most of the guys out here in our community. I did iPhone advertisement. Remember when iPhones first came out? And the phone you saw in the commercials, that was a mock-up that I built of the iPhone, the first ones when they were coming out. Um, so the first commercials, I'm the guy behind the iPhone you see in the commercials. There was some digital rendering done on that prop when they were filming it in post production. But yeah, and then I built props for 2 shows that were headed up by the Discovery Channel, but aired on the Travel Channel, I believe, because they're all one entity. Uh, but because of change in leadership and apparently some bickering and infighting and rights and all the stuff that went into the courts, and my friend Jerry Smith, who owns Pine Ridge Studios in Jacksonville, Florida, who did the shows, and I played a spy in one of them for a few, like, I don't know, 30 to 45 seconds. My claim to fame, I was a spy spying on Russian spies using a through the wall camera. And, anyways, because of a bunch of BS, I won't go into drawn out details. Jerry got screwed royally. The show only aired for a few months and then they shut it down, shut his rights off to it. I don't even know if Jerry is alive because he was an old gentleman back in '04, '05 when we were doing this production. But he was a wonderful human being. If he's still alive and ever sees this, you know, love you, brother. But yeah, so there was this big bull crap. Really, 2 good documentaries on spycraft, and not fictional. It was based off of real history and stuff. And yeah, it just aggravates me. Somewhere I have a VHS without commercials or editing of that thing, but I don't know where it's gone to. It's lost somewhere in the abyss around here. Moving could just screw you with things that you thought you had, and all of a sudden you no longer have them. So, anyways, so there's that. But let's get into this Stargate SG1 model. Now, I can't say for certain because I just don't pay that much attention. Something I was leading into, and I got off track there, was, when I enjoy sci-fi, one of the huge big things for if the movie sucks, like for example, remember the old, I think it was early 70s, late 60s, maybe mid 70s, Dark Star, their little spaceship. I always thought that little ship was cool, but the show sucked badly. I mean, it was awful. When I say sucked, I'm like when you suck in a breath of air, and it's you're in a smoky area. You start coughing and revolting and gagging from all the smoke. Well, that's kind of what the show was like, but the ship was really cool. Because this is kid friendly, so I don't get it. I'm a jarhead, so you got to forgive me if I slip up a little bit. I apologize ahead of time. But yeah, so I guess this is supposed to, from my understanding, be modeled after the Stargate in Atlantis. But I'm looking at it here, and, I don't think so. It looks to me like the traditional one, like it's Stargate Command. So basically here it is. And let me see how many inches it is. It's basically 8 inches in diameter on the outside. And it looks like we got an inside diameter of roughly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5, 6.25 inches. So we got this, which one side has some detailing on it, which you can see right there. And then you get these two rings, and one is front, one is back. And I'm not sure which one is which because you got holes drilled all around it, and you can see it's got the decorative inner ring molded into it. But you see these holes? They're recessed and they're kind of look like a cup, those holes. And then you just got some standard straight through holes right here. So which one of these is front or back? If I were guessing, I think these cupped out holes are probably for lighting. The only thing is, and I may have to, the chevrons, these little babies. I may have to either, because there's only one face and then there's a smooth back. I may go ahead and make a mold and just pour these things in clear resin, make a few extras, because they're supposed, well, part of them is supposed to light up. I'll have to review. As many times as I've watched all the series and the movies and the follow-on to Stargate SG1, the two movies that came afterwards, Continuum and Arc of Truth, I think is what it was. And I don't know which one of those came first. First, I think Arc of Truth and then Continuum. And that was the big finale to the SG1 franchise with those characters. But anyways, yeah, this, you can see right there. You see it? Right there where my finger is, and I'll move my finger. That is a failure in printing. So, and it's got some things, rough things around the edge. Once I understand how this uh, is designed to go together and all that good stuff, because I'm going to have to do a lot of scratch building. Yeah, and this ring, I'm not sure. This is the one with the raised details. I'm pretty sure it goes inside this ring. I'm not certain, and it's springy. It's not wanting to. It's a well. I'm just seeing if this thing's snapping down into that relief, and for the most part, it is. Shouldn't be too hard to glue. One thing about this doesn't come with any instructions. So what you're going to have to do, you're going to have to lay out each part and study it. Look at the fine details where there's obvious interface with other components and stuff like these holes. It's got a track here inside the ring. It doesn't have one there. It's got, so it's something that I'm going to have to study and make some notes, because it's not just straightforward. There's a lot of flashing on this when it came in. And I'll just give you an idea of the flashing. Look at those parts. They're completely surrounded in flashing. And these also had big truckloads of flashing on them too. I've already cleaned them up a little bit. So when I do go into working on this thing, it'll be correct. So yeah, a lot of little faux pas and little minor detail issues, but you know, it's a cool kit. Now there's more to it here. I'm going to share that with you, but yes, sirree. So let me get this put back in. I'm really OCD about things being, if you can't tell. And you got a whole bunch of little small, I don't know what these are, but there's 3 of them. I don't know what those are, and I'll find out, I guess. I'm going to have, because there's no instructions, and like I showed you earlier, there's your chevrons. You can really see that one in the corner over there. But, yeah, they're really well detailed. So the chevrons are there. You got a couple of little half domes in here, along with these things that looks like bowling pins that have been cut and had the bottom cut off of them. That's what they look like. I think they have something to do with those conical holes. So, and then this is all the this goes around the whole 360 degrees. I'm not pulling all this stuff out. You guys can get the idea from what I'm showing you. But yeah, and it's nicely detailed. So there's that. And then you got some, it looks like maybe outer ring details, back of the ring. I don't know. I will figure all that out. And then I guess these chevrons, these are the part, there's the main chevron parts, and I think these glue on top of them because they are similar in detail, but I think these are the parts that actually, when they say chevron locked and it moves in the locked position, I think that's the part that does that. Now, I'm not going to try to engineer there's actually kits out there you can spend some money on where they spin and it's got a mock event or horizon inside the ring, inside the Stargate. Yeah, and then we got these little things, which I think are standoffs that may go between the two ring halves, or I'm not certain. So, yeah, they got a ton of flash on them as well. And then, the wonderful stand they gave, which I don't understand how you would mount that to there. But that's the Stargate, you guys. Not a lot of wow factor to it, as it is as a kit. The fact that I'm going to have to rack my brains and figure out how all these parts interface is, it is what it is. So let me go ahead and set this down. And now into the weirdest car you've ever seen. The AMT AMTRONIC. It looks like a futuristic grocery getter, something you'd buy for your wife and kids. But I'm not building it like that. Imagine that. There's a guy that made one of these into like an executive shuttle. You can find it if you put AMT AMTRONIC-MILLENIUM model kit build. You'll find it on YouTube and other places. Even if you do a Google search, you'll find it in the images part where this guy made this thing. And he did a really good job of making it convincing. So I'm going to do something with it. What yet? I don't know. There's a crap ton of parts in this kit. There really is. A lot of chrome. Well, it's chrome for the wheels and I guess engine components, and because I see some fans and I don't know, wheels and trim details. It's got these really low rider tires in there. You can see, at first I was thinking they were some kind of gasket, and I was like, nope, that's the tires. So you got that. And then you got your, I think this is the aft section, the bottom and the top. Nothing to write home to mom about, but it is a kit that comes with a whole lot of parts. And when I got this kit, it was a lot of the parts were detached from the sprue trees. So, but I'm just showing you this because there is a bunch of parts. And, this is the main windshield and instructions in here. So there's a windshield in here. But yeah, it's a very interesting kit. I love interesting kits. The more non-conventional it is, the more I like it. But as I was starting to tell you now, 2 times, maybe the 3rd time's the charm. When I build kits, I build kits with an eye towards engineering. I'm big into ship design or just design, period. Cars, whatever. I'm a big fan of. What in the world's going on here? This box only go one way? Probably. Okay, there she is, all boxed up again. Again, There's the box, AMT AMTRONIC-MILLENIUM, built in 2000. That's when this kit was released, and it is a cool kit. I've seen some guys build it up out of the box, straight out of the box, but they put a lot of effort into it and beautiful paintwork, and so you can build it either way. Me, I'm just a freak for spaceships, aircraft, uh, all those design elements. I'm just a big fan of that. When I watch sci-fi movies, for example, the most interesting part to me is the spacecraft, and then the technologies around it, and all the technologies presented. You go from 1960s Star Trek to The Expanse, for example, is a good. Then in between you had shows like Babylon 5. Of course, that was all CG, computer generated animation. And it was pretty well done, for the era. But the advent of AI now, and just all these incredible software suites and stuff where you can go in and design stuff and, model spacecraft, or you can, you know, render anything you want. And then you throw in the 3D printing. It's just amazing the things you can do. My wife isn't fully understanding my hobby. She doesn't understand how many people globally engage in this hobby, and just all the genres and subject matter that surround the scale model building. If you want to make a model of it, it's out there. There are, a lot of people are really big into figures. I like robots and guys in, like, futuristic tactical suits and stuff and things like that. But I don't get into Dracula, and vampires, and werewolves and Frankenstein. When I was a kid, I loved that stuff, but that stuff never captured my imagination like Star Trek, Star Wars, and all the other good shows out there that are to be viewed. Gene Roddenberry's Earth Final Conflict had some cool stuff in it. Um, there's just a lot of very interesting sci-fi out there, and a lot of it in its presentation is pretty benign. You know, some people get wrapped up around the axle if there's something in the show that represents something dark or evil. Well, it's a storyline, and generally you have a hero and anti-hero. So, good guys and bad guys. That's just the way it is. And as long as it's done without a bunch of profanity and it's got a good storyline behind it, we live in a world where there's good and evil. So, I'm like, people that get wrapped up about all that, I'm like, get a life. If you can't control what's going on in your own mind, what you choose to believe and accept, and, respect other people's beliefs, you don't have to agree with them. Just, you know, it's science fiction. It's storytelling. It's meant to be fun and interesting and engaging, and to, get your imagination stirring. I mean, good sci-fi and all that. And it's not just sci-fi, any kind of, genre that you're into. If it's done well, generally you'll walk away from it and say, man, that was well done. I enjoyed that, you know? So now some of the crap you watch on Netflix will be 15, 20 minutes into the video. We always expect a little profanity and things like that. But, when they start dropping the F-bomb every other word, and, being disrespectful to the Almighty, meh, no, thank you. I shut it down. Nudity pops up, sex scenes, I shut it down. I been there and done all that crap in my life, unfortunately. So, yeah, model building, it's a nice little universe, nice little oasis to park yourself in, exercise your mind and creativity, and do something wholesome. And that's what I'm all about. All this other extraneous garbage, I don't care. You know, if you got young children, I expect you to watch some of my videos before you let the kids watch. I don't use profanity. And if I do it, I slip up, but it's not a habit of mine to use profanity. I am a man of faith, so I do um, try to conduct myself accordingly. But I'm also a jarhead, so, you know, still a human being, still normal. Well, that's all relative, Dave. Um, yeah, so the reason I say all this stuff in between parts that don't have anything to do with model building is there's going to be parents that if they see their kid watching my videos here on YouTube, I want them to be okay with me. I don't, I've raised two, I have raised 5 kids, and then some of their kids, my grandson Miguel in particular, but sadly he died and we still don't know the cause, about 4.5, 5 months ago. Um, that he was in the army and they found him dead in his barracks. But you know, so I'm a guy that's well rounded, a lot of life experience. I've been all around the planet. I got stories I could tell, yada yada yada. But this forum, this video, this channel, this is about having a good time, learning a good hobby, and something wholesome. Educate yourself, even in the sciences and engineering. It expand it crosses all those borders, and there's just a lot of fun to be had. And honestly, if you're not having fun, I don't care how good you are at it. Maybe you ought to quit. If you're not having fun, why dedicate your time? That's for a while I was selling my models and doing builds for other people, and I was looking at my shelves and I hardly had diddly squat. And I'm like, well, I'm enjoying building this stuff. Be nice to have a few to put on my shelf. So you know it's it's an evolution of sorts, and it's always been recognized as a clean, wholesome hobby, as long as you're not getting into nude figures and stuff. And I realize some of you out there do all that stuff, and I'm not passing any judgment on you. Guys have the right to do and build and enjoy whatever you want. You do. So, um, and even though I may see those from time to time when I'm flipping through different sites and stuff, you see all these uh, nudie butt figures, especially of women or women aliens, and all kinds of weird stuff. I'm just not into that. That has never ever interested me. Um, I don't know. I just think it brings out your lesser self, personally. And yep, I'll stay on the mechanical side of things. Uh, Good grief. Yep. But there's a lot of fun to be had. And there's so many wonderful kits out there that you guys could find and build. For the youngsters out there, if you're really starting in, I suggest the real easy step 1 kits, step 2 max. You know, I wouldn't go past step 2 if you're really young. I started when I was 5 years old building models, but mine weren't snap tied. They were glued together. Oh boy, what a mess my first models were. Glue everywhere, glue on the canopy. You guys know. You've been there. Um, But I have a lot of fond memories around my model building. My mom loves that I do it. She's glad I'm still doing it. Um, my family's always showed a, mild interest in it. Hey, wow, that's pretty cool, Dave. And then they're gone. But for all of us geeks, um, I just love the hobby. I like especially how it makes me think through processes. Um, do the things I come up with always derive the most beneficial option to me, or way to go, or way to do things? No, not always, but it works. Okay. There's that old acronym, keep it simple, stupid, KISS. Or for all of our youngsters out there, keep it simple, sonny. I don't know. I digress. I'm getting tired. So, yeah, another reason I'm on here too is, I'm I'm not very dignified. I'll be honest with you. I could be. I was raised in a really good home, and we lacked nothing. But um, I just I like authentic people. Just be who you are. If you got some faux pas in your life, fix them. Yep. So I'm trying to think what I'm going to pull out for video number 3. I've got that 2001: A Space Odyssey, the long 2-foot, uh, what is it called? The space plane, or, that cool airplane, space plane that was in 2001. Got one of those. I love the visuals in 2001: A Space Odyssey. 2010: A Space Odyssey was good. I think there was another one after that. Um, Not the most gripping sci-fi, but it is very thought-provoking, because to really understand what's going on, you got to pay attention, because it's Stanley Kubrick. He was known for being a bit eccentric. I'll leave it at that. But he was a genius when it came to storytelling and filmmaking. His special effects for 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I think aired in 1968 or 69. It was one of those two. I think 68. I I think it was before the moon landing, if you believe we really went to the moon. I'm not going to go there. Anyways, so I've got quite a few kits up there that I can review that I haven't done yet, and I may. I just I don't like to waste people's time, so I kind of, when I'm doing this stuff, I try to move it along as fast as possible. But I'll take breaks like right now and just talk to you, because share some thoughts on the hobby, and maybe about myself. But yeah, I've got a passion for the hobby like many of you. I love kids. I think kids are a blessing and a treasure that need every ounce of our love and training that we can give to them, to help them to grow up to be good citizens and good human beings. That's what I'm all about. And I just love kids. I think they're wonderful little human beings. And if I can have a positive impact on little minds and give them something constructive to do and something enjoyable, come on, watch the channel. Subscribe with your parents' permission. Nothing gets done on this channel without your parents' blessings. And anyways, so with that, young and old, I appreciate all of you. I really do appreciate the feedback that some of you guys have given me already, the viewership on the videos. Some of the stats are exceeding my wildest hopes for only doing this for 2 weeks now, 2.5 weeks. So I've got some pretty strong numbers already. Please share the channel. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming. I've got a bunch of scratch builds, which there's no kits up there, but there's flat packs of different thicknesses of styrene that are 2 feet by 1 feet, 2.5 feet by 1 feet. Back there, I've already dug into for scratch building. I've got some really cool scratch building projects coming up. Hopefully, before the end of the year, I'd like to get started on that TR3 or Aurora or something representative of that theme. But it's going to be triangular in form, and how that works out in its overall design and stuff, I'm not quite sure yet. One thing you guys can do if you're mulling around a scratch built project and you don't know quite what direction you want to go, you got a rough idea, but you don't. I hit Google Images, type in a specific theme like TR3B, whatever, and I find all the pictures I can, and I save the images so I can have them for a reference when I start going into my design elements, because I might piecemeal different aspects of different designs within the build process of that project, the triangular UFO. Now, it's not going to probably be a true, and forgive me for my geometry's gone way away, but it's not going to be a even triangle on all sides. Probably it might be slightly elongated along the axis of there's an aviation term in engineering, and I'm brain farting right now because it's late. I got up early. I didn't sleep that much last night, but I slept more than previous night. But I just, if I'm not well rested in the creative process, then I'll make mistakes, or I'll make choices and waste materials if I don't have a basic plan. You know, what I'll most likely do, because I've done it on numerous occasions, is I'll draw some freehand sketches. Now, I'm not the world's greatest artist, but I'm not the worst either. And because I usually draw them out like an engineering drawing with a plan view, side view, top view, rear view, all that, front view. Although, was it orthographics? I try to get them on paper the best I can as a rough draft. I used to put stuff in like AutoCAD and things like that, or Paint Shop Pro, or some other application. I did have the big enchilada, the really nice high-end one. It was given to me in college. Well, it wasn't given to me. It was part of my tuition, the suite for SolidWorks, I think it was. Maybe it was something a level higher. I think it was. But anyways, I don't have it anymore, so I got to go online and see what kind of freebies I can get, or if there's some really good ones that aren't going to cost you an arm and a leg to get a permanent license on and updates. then that's what I'm going to look for, because there are times where that really is handy, especially if you can render 3D models and uh, have all the necessary tools for creativity that you need in that software suite. So with that, guys, I'm going to let you go. It's been over 45 minutes, and me yammering and probably put a bunch of you guys to sleep. But since it's 9:27 p.m., and if you're a youngster, you should be in bed already, because tomorrow's a school day, I think. Anyways, David Fox signing out. You guys have a great evening, and I know the weekend's coming up for you, so, have a good one. Peace.